Hello and welcome to Creating Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions. And today's guest, I love her name, to be honest. I'm super excited. Her name, she goes by LauraAura, and she's an alignment coach for female entrepreneurs, guiding them to learn how to honor their energy and truly listen to what they want instead of what they've been taught they should, right? Don't be shoulding all over yourself, and we'll definitely get into that. But Laura is the CEO of Worx Co, a branding studio and host of a top 100 podcast, the Gutsy Podcast. She's a speaker, author, and all-around visionary. And I also love the fact that she will be the first person to push you out of your comfort zone and the last person to hug you as you head to the next level of your life. So please help me welcome Laura to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. What's up, Laura?
Hey. Thanks so much for having me.
I love the fact that you're like, go, pushing you. Fly, baby bird, fly.
Absolutely. Look, I don't know any other way, right? It's one of those things where I think that I fought for a long time, just like my natural kind of lovingly bluntness. And like, oh, is that too much? And is it too pushy and all this? But I'm like, no, it's always backed with love, right? It's always backed with ambition. It's always backed with like, even when you can't see it or feel it for yourself, when we're in a space together, I can hold that capacity for you. And then we recalibrate and then boom, out the door you go. And I'm here to cheer you on every step of the way.
Beautiful. I think I was also reading on your website, I believe, where it's like you're a Sagittarius. Is it Sagittarius or Scorpio?
It's Sagittarius.
Sagittarius and a projector, right?
Yes. So, I mean, just like words and directness, it's just literally ingrained in me. Like there is nothing else that I can do. So I've learned to roll with it and accept it. And honestly, it's what has started to really open up such beautiful opportunities and success for me, because I wholeheartedly believe and trust and know that the more that you are yourself in your business, the more all the things that you keep dreaming about, thinking about, vision boarding about, all those things get to become your reality, and in such a beautiful speed and grace and ease as well. So the more that you're you, the more that you get to have all the things that you truly want in this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would love for you maybe just to quickly kind of share with us, what is it that you're doing? How are you creating impact in the world? Kind of what's that vision for you?
Yeah. So I love helping women rediscover who they are, what they actually want, and how they want to do the thing in this world. And, we get on this autopilot, we get into the shoulds of life and experiences and expectations and media and social and all this stuff that we get poured into. And we forget to ask ourselves, what do I actually want? And so helping women to remember who they are, to reconnect with who they are, and then start taking aligned action from their grounded, centered space. Like, it is mind-blowing, the changes and the shifts that can happen, because before you're a business owner, you're a human, right? And as a human, you have thoughts and feelings and ideas and things that excite you and things that stop you and all the stuff that makes you you. And it doesn't go away in the business. If anything, it gets amplified.
It's amplified. It's like,
absolutely,
oh my
amplified.
gosh, so much so.
So I love helping women with the inside work, right? The mind, the conversations that we're having with ourselves, the beliefs that owning a business is isolating.
Yeah.
So isolating. And so just being there with other like-minded people to recognize what's going on inside and then reflect it on the outside, it's straight magic. So it's really an honor to do this work.
I love that, because you're right. It could be you're in a silo of sorts a lot of the time. We've got our home-based businesses, we're working from home, maybe we've got family obligations. Your family doesn't understand what it is that you actually do. I've been doing this for over, however many years. And it's just like, they still don't quite understand what it is I do. And I know I'm not alone, but it's nice to be able to have a space where you can kind of like collapse, right? And be like, somebody else can catch me versus me be the only one that's got to catch myself. as well as everybody else, right?
Yeah. And I think, surrounding yourself with like-minded people is essential too, not only just for, mental health and support, but they're the people that truly get it, right? Like your friends and your family, they're probably the first people to like your posts, and they're cheering you on and they mean well, but they're not the people to turn to when you have a business question, or when you're like really up in your head, convinced that, you're crappy and you don't know what you're doing. And a million other people have done it, and who me, and, someone's going to find out that I'm a fake, and all this other stuff that we tell ourselves. So just being around other people that are like, hey, I've been there too. Let me hold the space with you. Let me hold hands with you. Let's walk on this journey together. Like it's invaluable, right? Like it's the sole purpose and reason why I started the Gutsy Podcast many, many years ago. It was because I'm like, okay, if I'm having all these thoughts and feelings, I can't possibly be the only one. Yeah. Maybe there's a few other, turns out there's a lot of others, right?
Yeah, you hit a pretty big number recently, didn't you?
Yeah. We just surpassed 60,000 downloads, which I'm super proud of. Yeah, thank you. I'm so proud of the show because it is everything of me, right? And it gets to impact so many people literally around the globe now. But I launched it because I'm like, if I'm feeling like this, somebody else has to be feeling like this. And if we can just have really raw conversations about what's actually happening, maybe we could all lift one another up. So it's mind blowing in the best of ways when you like voice something and everyone else is like, oh yeah, I hear you. And it's so relieving, right? Like when you're like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. I thought like something was going on in there, like something was wrong. You're a human having a human experience.
Right. So speaking of that human experience, talk to me about the shoulds and undoing the shoulds. Like, how do we start? What's going on? Break it down for us.
So one of my favorite challenges to give people that come into my circle is, and if you're up for it, I challenge you all to do this as well. Carry around for one day a Post-it note. And every time you say the word should, put a little tick mark. And at the end of your day, you will realize very quickly how many times you unintentionally give away your power. Look, we are taught to do things a certain way. Thoughts, feelings, expectations. This is how the world is doing it. This is how a woman is supposed to do it, right? Like patriarchal stuff is a whole thing. Like there's just so many factors. And we're just constantly playing this professional game of whack-a-mole of pleasing everything and everyone around us. Right. And we very quickly and easily lose sight of who we actually are and what we actually want. And so we're like, oh, I want to create this new service, but I should do this first, or I should do that, right? I want to, take some time off, but I really should work today, right? I should just check my email, right? I mean, we could go on for days about this. And so the very first thing that everyone must start doing is getting super aware of your words, your thoughts, and your feelings. Because that's the part that we bypass. So that little exercise, if you write down every time you say should in a 24-hour period, you will be like, damn, Laura.
Right. And then we come to you and go, okay, help me undo this.
Help me undo this. Yeah.
This many.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it shines a light on it, right? Because we can't shift and change and adjust what we are not aware of. Yeah. So when you can recognize like how many times you say or act on a should, then you realize like, oh, okay, I realize how much I'm actually going outside of myself. So maybe what's one area that I can reclaim today? Maybe I can, now I'm programming my mind to recognize when I say should, like it slaps me in the face. If I start to say should, it's almost like my body's like, Laura, no, because I talk about it so much. Right. Yeah. So it starts to train your brain to say like, oh, I really should. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Let me shift this in the moment instead of it taking me down a whole rabbit hole I don't belong in.
Yeah. I've done that with need. Right. And it's like, okay, or deserve instead. Right. It's like, oh, I deserve to do this. I don't need to, I deserve to, or I want to. Right. So it's like just that little shift where it's like, I don't need to, I don't have to, I choose to.
That's the other one. Have to. If we catch the have tos, that's got a lot of energy behind it. Yeah. Right. A lot of times I sense like a kind of a little bit of a darker gnarly feeling, right? A little bit of resentment maybe in there as well. Where like, oh, I have to do this. And, but our words really truly matter, right? Like it's sending signals, our brain is sending signals to our body, and then our body is doing the thing. And so those words really have a bigger impact than what we even realize.
And that then goes into like, that's part of the mindset, which is now affecting everything that we're doing, right?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, the conversation that you have in your head silently is the loudest voice you will ever hear. And that voice gets louder, and it has impact, and it truly, truly makes a difference. I know you hear it all the time. I know you read the memes online and, about how mindset affects things. It truly does, because you're constantly feeding yourself information. And then that information turns into what is happening in front of you.
Right.
And so what we're saying to ourselves and what we're choosing to believe has a profound impact, not only on our life, but on our business as well.
Yeah. So speaking of business, I want to switch gears a little bit. So part of the podcast, I love being able to kind of like pull back the curtain, go behind the scenes. What does the business look like? It hasn't always been unicorns and rainbows.
Nope.
Right. So I would love to hear, like what have been some of the challenges in your business as you've continued to grow and scale and be able to support and impact even more people?
Yeah. So I've been in business for 15 and a half years now. And so I have learned a lot of stuff. I have so much more to learn, but that is for another day. Right. And I know the season that I'm in right now feels pretty darn awesome. And I can appreciate that. I think mainly because of the challenges and the obstacles and the ups and the downs that I've been on. I've learned, different things like, so I'm a creative by nature, right? My background is in graphic design. My primary business, Worx Co, which you mentioned, is a branding agency. And I've always thought myself like, I'm a creative. I don't need processes. I don't need structure. I just want to be free and do things fluidly. That gets me in trouble all the time. And it wasn't until I realized that structure and processes aren't here to dim the creative process. If anything, it actually helps to amplify it. Because when you are trying to grow, when you're trying to scale, when you're trying to expand, one of the biggest things is like, as the owner, as the CEO, eventually you got to get out of the weeds.
Yeah.
And not having that structure is the number one thing that pulls me back into the weeds, which stops me from doing the different things that I'm being called to do, casting the vision, growing things, being a speaker, right? All this stuff that is my role. Not having these structures and processes in place is actually hurting all of us.
Yeah.
So learning that structure and processes and documentation is actually a brilliant thing in business and 100% necessary, because it gives you takes all the guesswork out, right? And it empowers your team to follow a process, and we're all working together. Anybody could pick it up if they needed to. And I think that was probably one of my biggest things. The other one, understanding your numbers.
Yes. Doing business by the numbers.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me
how
many people don't know their numbers. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to charge this much for my programs, or I'm going to charge this much to do this. And it's like, and that goes back to the system and the structures, right?
Yes.
But knowing your numbers. When we do events, we know the numbers. We know how many people are showing up. We know how many people how many register, how many show, how many stay with us for every 15-minute increments. We know the numbers. So that way we can go back and change things based on the numbers, not just how we feel about it.
Absolutely. Right? Look, and I've carried through, and something I still am working on is deeply, deeply seated childhood trauma with finances, right? My money story, my belief system, the financial climate that I grew up in, not super awesome, right? And so I've unintentionally carried a lot of those habits and beliefs into my adulthood, into my business. And I've had to learn the hard way on how to restructure and undo those. And I think one of the most important things foundationally to know is, how much does it cost you to run your business? It's amazing. And if anyone's listening and you haven't done this yet, this is not a shame game. It's just simply to bring awareness. But I see so many people that have no idea how much it costs them to do business. If we think about your subscriptions and any programs that you have and any team members that you might have, whether they're subcontractors or employees, like your own salary, that should be number one on this list.
That right there.
Yes.
I'm consulting with somebody and they don't pay themselves.
Yes.
Right. And they don't know how much, like, oh yeah, I'll just pay my team this much. And I'm like, well, you're not even saving enough money to pay your taxes. Right. Like,
yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I know it can get, I know it can feel really overwhelming. So it's like baby steps at a time. But it's one of the most impactful things that you'll ever do for yourself and your business. One, you're making sure that you're getting paid, because I'm going to guess that you're not doing this because you're bored. And two, it also helps you to build a healthier business. And that helps you to have a bigger impact, not just with the people that you're serving, but the people that might get to work on your team as well.
Right. Exactly. Well, and then it allows you to continue to scale and grow.
Yes.
Right. Because, when you start out, your costs aren't as high, but as you grow, your costs become a lot more. And if you don't have that system, if you don't have the processes, if you're not looking at it, it can go south real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've made a million other mistakes along the way, and that could be a whole episode on its own. But I might
have to have you come back for that.
Absolutely. But, I think it's important to acknowledge that running and growing a business is a learning process, and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to fail at stuff. And that doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that you have an opportunity to learn and to refine. And I think
you don't have to get it. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. If we can get out of our own way of this label of failing and failure, and this whole concept of like doing things fearlessly, like, we're all terrified. We're all terrified. It just boils down to, are we willing to take messy action? Are we willing to try things? And if they don't work out, are we willing to pivot and try something new? So don't beat yourself up so much if something's not quite working out. It's just an opportunity to learn.
Yep. It's that imperfect action, but at least you're taking action.
Exactly.
And then you make the adjustments, right? Like, you don't have to get it all right in the beginning. Nobody is. Yeah. But that's where a lot of the creativity can then come into play, right? A lot of us had to get really creative with our businesses when a pandemic hit.
Oh yeah. I got real creative.
I mean, my entire business plan changed from being in person to being virtual, right? So like, you have to get real creative real quick sometimes. And even now, and I'd be curious to hear, your take on what you're seeing in your industry and in your marketplace. But it's like, everybody can go and get whatever they need online, right? Like, information is plentiful. Mm-hmm. You just Google something, but it's the ones that are showing up and be like, this is how I can support you. It's because it's the implementation, it's the accountability, it's the support, it's the little tweaks and nuances that you can't quite learn just from watching something or experiencing something that you can just Google, right? Are you seeing any type of shift within your marketplace where people are having to add in more high touch or more accountability or more support for the audience?
Yeah. I mean, I think from, because my primary focus right now is on coaching and speaking. So I think that now more than ever, people are craving community. Mm-hmm. They're craving that touch. They're craving the ability to pick up the phone or send a voice message or, get their own version of a quick answer, right? It's the same reason we can Pinterest all day long and look at beautiful quotes and get inspired for 45 seconds. But is that going to change our life? Probably not. But if you've got someone that is holding that space for you, and like you said, there is that accountability, there is that availability to be able to call somebody and say, hey, can you hear me right now? I think that's everything that a lot of the people that I'm working with and are in my community are looking for. They just want to be around other people. Mm-hmm. We have been isolated for years, mm-hmm. And while there has been some benefit to working from home and technology has shifted like 100 miles an hour and a lot of great things have come of it, people are ready to get back to being people with other people.
That's the key phrase, with other people.
With other people. Yeah. Like, so I'm in my building right now and we're going to be renovating it. That's a whole nother arm. But I joke with my husband sometimes because I'm like, I'm in this 3-story building by myself. And while I don't mind working alone, I'm really ready for some people to be in here because, even if you're not doing something specifically together, you just bounce off of one another's energy. And there's just something about being in a physical, you host events, something about being in a physical room with like-minded people that are all like going in the same direction, even though they have their own journeys. That energy is contagious. You can replicate portions of that online, but how many times have you been to like a retreat or a conference and you come back and you're like, I'm ready, right? Like you're just ready to take on the world. I think that's what people are hungry for.
Yeah. I love it. Oh my gosh. So our time is really flown by. I think we could definitely have you come back and like go deeper into any of the topics that we've discussed so far. But
I'd love to.
In the meantime, how do people connect with you? How do they stay connected to you? And do you happen to have a gift for our audience?
Absolutely. I love gifts. So at LauraAura.com, it's LauraAura.com. That's the hub for all things me. That's where you can learn about my coaching programs. You can learn about my online community. Come join me. Let's do some magic together. But at that same website, you can take the free Power League quiz, it's like, those quizzes on Facebook where it's like, which Disney princess are you? It's kind of like one of those.
Which Disney princess are you?
I am Elsa. And I accept that. Elsa's fabulous. But it's, it'll take you, 5 minutes to take, but it helps you to discover where you may be unintentionally giving away your power. And then I'll send you some steps on how you can start to reclaim that for yourself.
Beautiful.
And if you're on the social, I play the most on TikTok and Instagram. TikTok is my jam. And you can find me at that LauraAura.
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. Before I let you go, I would love for you to share with us, what is some type of takeaway or memorable note that you would like to leave our audience with?
If you're listening right now, I want you to know that you are allowed to want what you want. That the voices in your head are just trying to convince you of something that's not true. That you are more than capable of everything that you see, feel, and maybe even taste sometimes. And this thing that you're hungry for, this thing that you want, as long as you're not harming yourself or others, give yourself the opportunity to try. Because what I see more often than not is we talk ourselves out of things before we even take our first step. And so today I encourage you to give yourself permission to take that first step, because you never know where it's going to lead you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to thank everybody for listening and joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take these lessons and these resources that you've learned here, start implementing, get your little Post-it note out, start, check marking all the little shoulds, and utilize them, start implementing the next steps so that you can create even more powerful impact in your own world. Until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.